Stars on Da Vinci's Inquest.
Tonight,
Joe Beliveau accepted the Stanley Cup from Clarence Campbell.
I've always thought the game of hockey is the greatest game to play. He was just like a machine. He had everything figured.
the Beliveau magic.
He would have been probably a bigger star today than he was in the 50s.
And welcome. I'm Anne-Marie MacDonald. He is the stuff that Hockey Night in Canada was made of. Jean Beliveau led the Montreal Canadiens to an unprecedented 5 straight Stanley Cups during their glory days in the 50s and 60s. He is hockey's original superstar. Tonight you'll see the grace and power that made him the highest paid player of his time. But there are a few things you won't see. You won't see him brawling or sitting out a season in a huff. And Gentleman Jean wasn't just hockey royalty. He was courted in the corridors of power and politics. As Belivau's father once told him, if you want success in life, give a little extra.
Here's Big John Beliveau showing his tremendous strength and great skill to score Montreal's third goal to Beliveau, who unwinds his blistering.
John Beliveau leads a 3-man rush.
It's been 30 years since Jean Beliveau last laced up his skates.
And then Beliveau connects on a perfect goal.
30 years since he hung up jersey number 4 for the last time. But the former Montreal Canadiens center remains an icon in Quebec and a legend in the rest of Canada.
Number 4 is 210-pound John Beliveau, one of the most exciting players to enter.
Jean Beliveau made red, white, and blue the colors of hockey royalty. He was known as Gentleman Jean. Beliveau was the Wayne Gretzky of his day, a superstar with an astronomical salary and a fanatical following. He was one of television's first sports heroes.
Hello, Canada, and hockey fans in the United States.
At 6'3" and 210 pounds, Beliveau was the NHL's biggest player with one of the most powerful shots in the game, 95 miles an hour.
This one goes like a guided missile, and Sawchuk looks up as if to say, which planet did that one come from?
He was just like a machine. He knew when there was time to pass the puck. He knew when there was time to shoot the puck. He had everything figured.
The Beliveau magic in slow motion.
But the big guy always moved with balletic grace, breaking league records with the same ease he stick-handled the puck. He was elegant off the ice, too. Distinguished, debonair. It was said at the time there were 2 religions in Quebec, Catholicism and the Canadiens. The Montreal Forum was hockey's shrine.
This is the kind of hockey, NHL style, that packs the Montreal Forum to the rafters.
These were the glory days of one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The roster is legendary. Rocket Richard, Henri Richard, Boom Boom Geoffrion, Jacques Plante, and Dickie Moore. They won 5 Stanley Cups in a row, a feat never accomplished before or since.
I was very fortunate to play at a time with great teammates, and we had great success.
Before his career was over, Beliveau would win 5 more.
Out of all the guys who were captains that lifted the Stanley Cup, for whatever reason, he's the guy that I always pictured lifting the Stanley Cup.
He would become the blueprint for a generation of superstars who followed.
I tried to skate like him. I tried to make plays like him, but it didn't work all the time.
Up they come. Beliveau at center ice. He gets it over. It's cleared. Going right in and goal.
Few could equal Belivau's record, By the time he retired, he'd scored 507 regular season goals. In that era, only Rocket Richard, Bobby Hull, and Gordie Howe would score more.
He played in an era when, let's be honest, the sticks were awful sticks. You couldn't raise the puck. It was difficult to score. If you got 2 or 3 goals in a game, that was a lot.
You've heard those who say stick handling is a lost art.
I always look at old films, and I always, in my mind, try to picture them playing in this day and age. Jean Beliveau would have dominated in this era with his brains and his skating ability and his size and his sportsmanship. He would have been probably a bigger star today than he was in the 50s.
But stardom always comes at a price, even for Gentleman Jean. Jean Beliveau was born on August 31st, 1931, during the depths of the Depression. He grew up in Victoriaville, a small Quebec town in the heart of farm country. Beliveau was the eldest of 8 children, born to Laurette and Arthur, a lineman for Shawinigan Power. With such a large family, money was scarce. Belivau's parents were devout Catholics, frugal and hard-working, lessons not lost on their son.
I always admired his mother and father. They really were, for me, model parents. I saw his dad coming home from work at night, and all his children, some quite young, surrounded him. It was beautiful to see.
But in 1939, the pretty picture changed forever. 2-year-old Helene was struck by a car in front of the house and killed. Beliveau would later name his only daughter after her. The man who would make hockey a religion in Quebec grew up right next to the church. He was an altar boy. Every Sunday and most weekday mornings, he rose at dawn to help the priest serve Mass. These rituals and beliefs would shape his life. Once church was out, the altar boy couldn't wait to throw off his robes and lace up his skates. The backyard game was also a daily ritual.
I believe that my father gave me a pair of skates for Christmas when I was around 4 years old, and everybody had a little ice surface behind the house, and that's where we started. And I remember very clearly some of my friends at that time were as good and probably better than I was. And
he arrived on a backyard rink not far from his house, and we were playing. He just got his skates for the first time, so he was having trouble. The puck was always in his skates. My friend said, "Beliveau, go home. Leave us alone." I don't know why I reacted the way I did, but I told them, if he goes, I go. So they said, "Okay, Beliveau, you can stay. But stay in the corner and don't bother anyone."
But it wasn't long before all the boys clamored for the skinny kid in the blue tooth to play on their team.
I remember one time I was playing on defense, and he said, "Jean-Marc, give me the puck, and I'll go score a goal for you." So he took the puck, and with the agility he had, went and scored a goal. All the kids around him knew that he was going to become something special.
Like so many Quebec boys, Beliveau worshipped Rocket Richard and dreamed of one day wearing the uniform of the Montreal Canadiens.
Downstrom on the near side for the Blackhawks to the Canadian line. The pass to Mosienko.
I remember very well. We used to listen to Hockey Night in Canada on the radio.
Three-man defense. The pass to Richard. He cuts in from the side. He stops. He shoots. He scores.
The next morning, we replay the game, all hoping that one day we'll make our life in professional sport and win the Stanley Cup.
Those dreams were fueled by the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. They taught Beliveau in the classroom, and coached him on the ice. The brothers organized teams and showed the skinny kid how to stick handle. Before long, he was the best player in his league and the biggest.
I played against Jean as junior when he was playing for Victoriaville. I knew he was going to be a great center. I mean, even the pants was too short for him. He was too big. And I said to myself, I said, if ever we break in the National Hockey League with Dickie Moore, Jean Beliveau, and myself, I hope that I play with Big Jean.
But Big Jean was also playing another sport, and he was good. At 15, Beliveau was scouted by a baseball team from Alabama. Hockey fans can thank his mother for turning the offer down. She didn't want her young son to leave home just yet. Belivau's destiny was sealed, and as his reputation spread, major teams came courting. But his father spurned all offers. His son would stay in school and play for the Victoriaville Tigers. Finally, in 1949, the hometown hero signed on with the Quebec League, bound for hockey glory. On a gray December afternoon, 18-year-old Jean Beliveau boarded a bus for Quebec City, a journey that would transform his life.
My father, when I left for Quebec City, always said, be honest, respect others, and give the little extra, which going to help you to have success in life.
His father needn't have worried. The small-town boy was an instant sensation. They built a new coliseum to hold the crowds that came to see him play. It was known as Chateau Beliveau.
In recent years, Quebec City's Coliseum owed much to the box office appeal of Jean Beliveau, idol of French-Canadian fans, who helped draw a record 1 million attendance in the Quebec League in one season.
He wore jersey number 9, the same as his idol, Rocket Richard. Adoring fans called him Le Gros Bill, the big guy.
Beliveau packs a powerful shot.
I played against John when we were very young in the first-year junior, but Jean had a lot of talent. We have to admit it. I'd admit it now. I wouldn't admit it then. But he created a lot of activity around himself. Everybody was out to check him, so you'd always have two players running at him most of the time. I was working at the CPR, and I'll never forget, I used to sit at my desk and draft on a paper saying where I'm going to hit John. The people just loved him in Quebec. We really worshipped him.
I was so well treated in Quebec City. I was like a king wherever I went, wherever I want.
But the hockey idol remained the dutiful son. He lived in a rooming house, struggled to learn English, and sent money home for his 6 younger brothers and sisters. He even got a second job, promoting the Laval Dairy. He was their ice cream man. His face smiled down from billboards, and kids flocked to his Saturday morning radio show to buy autographed sticks for 59 cents. At the age of 20, Jean Beliveau was the most heralded player in Canada, and he was still an amateur. And the Montreal Canadiens, who hadn't won a Stanley Cup since 1946, were desperate to sign him. Quebec City was just as determined to keep him. In 1951, they presented their star player with a brand new Nash Rambler at center ice.
First car. I never had a car before. So I decided to play another year to show my appreciation to the people of Quebec.
The tug of war between Montreal and Quebec intensified the following year when Jean Beliveau was called up for a 3-game trial with the Canadiens.
My coach gave him my sweater, 12. I didn't appreciate. I was injured. I was up in the stands and I said, "What the heck is this?" You know, so I'm really fuming over the incident. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I had to watch the game with Jean playing, and guess what he does? He scores 3 goals. I go down to the dressing room, and Dick Irvin, he says, "Hey, Moore," he says, "you think you can wear that sweater now?"
I used to report to the Canadian training camp every fall. And you can imagine when I was leaving Quebec that those people in Quebec were a little nervous, and they used to tell me, whatever they offer you, Jean, same thing here.
The Quebec aces reached deep into their pockets. Even the government got in on the act. Premier Duplessis' bagman, Gerald Martineau, ordered the team to sweeten their offer by $5,000. That's how important Jean Beliveau was to Quebec. In 1952, the Aces paid their star center $20,000, more than any professional in the NHL, even more than top earner Rocket Richard. But Belivau's reasons for staying in Quebec weren't just professional. The man every French-Canadian girl wanted to marry had fallen in love. Élise Couture was from a wealthy and prominent Quebec family. Incredibly, she'd never heard of Jean Beliveau when they met on a blind date. She'd never even been to a hockey game. But Élise soon became her boyfriend's most ardent fan and fiercest defender.
Oh, she just hated me. Oh, God. I got a kick out of her, really. You know, I'd kind of give her a wave. And she would just turn on me, you know, never say anything, but you could tell, you know, that was her beau, and she loved John, and she just didn't appreciate the way I played against him.
Élise would eventually forgive Dickie Moore and march down the aisle with her hockey hero. Gentleman Jean was the epitome of style. Their wedding in the summer of 1953, the social event of the season.
This is Montreal.
In the fall of 1953, Montreal finally won the tug-of-war for Jean Beliveau. The Canadiens were so desperate to get him, they bought the entire Quebec Senior League and turned it professional.
That if you had your choice of any hockey player playing hockey today, professional or amateur, who would you want me to buy for your club? And I only named one man, and that man is right here, Jean Beliveau.
He signed a 5-year contract for an unprecedented $100,000. At 22, Jean Beliveau was the world's highest-paid hockey player. He would now wear number 4 and play with his idol, Maurice Richard. But part of Belivau's deal, an extra $10,000 a year from Molson's brewery, didn't go down well with the Rocket.
Jean got a contract with the Canadiens plus a job with Molson's, which I think Rocket was supposed to have had. And so Rocket never drank Molson for many years. But we used to tease him. We'd take the label off sometime, give him a clear bottle, so he would go ahead and have a nice Molson.
Was there a competitive arrangement between them? I suspect in the later years, the last years. But remember, Maurice retired in 60, and Jean was just blossoming in 60. So it was more a brother-like relationship. And in later years, what's really critically important is Jean was a great friend to Maurice.
They may have been friends, but they were total opposites. The Rocket, fiery and explosive. Gentleman Jean, graceful and dignified. The madder the Rocket got, the better he played. He had a hair-trigger temper and eyes that struck fear into his opponents and his own teammates.
Jean loves to tell this story about how he'd be sitting in the dressing room and the team would be down by 2 goals. And if you didn't perform, he said, Rocket said very little. He simply looked at you from his corner. He gave you that glare. And you went out and you worked 110%. That was Rocket's message. Get out and play. Of course, you didn't have to tell Jean Beliveau that.
Beliveau played center on an illustrious line flanked by Bert Olmsted and the legendary right-winger Boom Boom Geoffrion. Together, they were magic.
Jean and I, we used to make plays, and Jean, he used to tell me in French, boom, va-t'en plus loin, go that side, in English. But he was telling me that in French, so nobody could understand. And at the drop of the puck, I was gone, the puck break away.
It was a big night for the Beliveau-Geoffrion combination. Just 42 seconds after their tying goal, Geoffrion passes to Beliveau in a bullseye from 35 feet out to put Canadien into a 2-1 lead.
Jean, he was making plays just like drawing a picture. It's how smooth he was. Big, strong, never looked for a fight, never looked a body check. But don't kid yourself. If somebody give him one, Jean give it back. But he never looked for it.
Yes, lady, this is shocking.
From the beginning, Beliveau was targeted by other players. The press carped he wasn't tough enough. He was forced to be more aggressive. By the end of his career, he had almost as many penalty minutes as points. A tougher Jean Beliveau and the fiery Rocket Richard led the Montreal Canadiens to 5 consecutive Stanley Cup victories. Heady days for a team that was unbeatable. Every year the victory parade wound down St. Catherine Street. Adoring crowds paid homage to their hockey heroes. Jean Beliveau was their idol. But winning streaks don't last forever. And Gentleman Jean would soon be pulled from his pedestal.
Forget being admired from afar.
The cleaning power of toothpaste, the freshness of mouthwash, together. New Colgate 2-in-1 toothpaste and mouthwash. A unique liquid gel that fights cavities while freshening breath. New Colgate 2-in-1.
Nice dress. Oh, it could be worse. We could be the ones marrying Tony.
Sweat happens. Lady Speedstick's ready for it.
If you happen to see even more people in Moores these days, it's because right now we're having our year-end clearance sale, which means you'll find suits starting at $130, sport coats at $100, as well as shirts, shoes, and everything else at big savings. After all, while you can get almost anything on sale this time of year, we think you'll find what we have to offer will suit you the best. Well-made, well-priced, well-dressed. Moores.
I never thought about giving blood until I had the accident. Now I know why people need to give blood. Because it can happen to you.
Canadian Blood Services asks, if you knew you could save a life, would you? Blood. It's in you to give.
Exploding tires.
It was a nightmare.
I'd like to say they're driving on dynamite.
The story you haven't heard.
If you know you've got a problem, you eliminate it.
Marketplace uncovers a simple solution that could have prevented these accidents. Tonight at 8 on CBC.
Now connecting even more homes and businesses across Ontario. Efficiently, reliably, safely. We're Hydro One. We don't make electricity, we deliver it. We're the wires, the towers, the people you've come to rely on. We're a new company with a vision of the future. We're Hydro One, connecting at the speed of light.
10% recreation industry research emphasis right now with the U.S. market percent.
Hey, buddy, they throw you out of the office?
2% is invested in recreation industry, 12% is also America. The increase of cash flow 4%, 1.2%, 32% entertainment and leisure companies,
broadcast. Altamira, focused on making you money. Maybe a little too focused.
Park's closed! Or do I need to put it on a pie chart for you?
Is this the time for union? Now is the time.
A story of bold personalities and daring ideas when half a continent was there for the taking.
2 countries, 2 languages,
can you possibly carry on both with one legislature?
Some will risk all for freedom.
Liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other.
Canada, a people's history. Sunday at 8 on CBC. Brought to you in part by Sun Life Financial.
The Beliveau era was a simpler time in hockey. There were only 6 teams, and after a game, players would board the overnight train, bound once again for Chicago or New York.
I've always thought that those were great days. Those long days on the train, we had a lot of time to talk about the game the night before. One went wrong, if a player was going through a very difficult time, even sometimes personal things.
Jean Beliveau always listened, offered advice, even carried extra money on the road for cash-strapped rookies. He was leader, mentor, father figure. So in 1961, when Coach Toe Blake asked his players to vote for a new captain, the choice seemed almost preordained.
I remember the trainer going around with Toe's hat, and everybody was a secret vote. And all of a sudden, Toe came back, and he shook hands. He said, "Boys, here's your new captain." I couldn't believe it.
The runner-up, Boom Boom Geoffrion, couldn't believe it either.
Boom was very hurt, very, very hurt, because Boom was a very sensitive individual, a great team man, hard worker, but he just loved to be up to the top. And if he wasn't up, boy, he was down. So it took a while for Boom to get over this.
Geoffrion went into a sulk that affected his play, and Beliveau gallantly offered to step down. Management wouldn't hear of it.
And they decided probably that I had the right temperament to be the captain. I accepted. To these days, I say all those Stanley Cup are great, but for a touchy moment for me, coming from my teammates was one of my greatest joy in my life.
Beliveau would be one of the greatest captains in the history of the Montreal Canadiens, a leader who always put the team first.
I've always thought that a great hockey player or a great athlete is like a great artist. And a great artist has the tendency to be individualist. If you're a member of a team sport and you want to win, you got to play together. And that's what we did. And that's why we won all those Stanley Cup.
In April 1957, the hockey father became a real father when daughter Helene was born. Beliveau may have changed a few diapers, but he missed out on much of Helene's childhood. Hockey was all-consuming. He credits Elise for bringing her up. Theirs was a conventional marriage. His wife ran the home and organized their social life. Every Monday night they took ballroom dancing. Jean Beliveau learned the moves. But his best dancing was on ice. And daughter Helene became his #1 fan. From the age of 5, she never missed a game.
Lead straight first with Bob Crawford setting up.
The tension was highest when the Montreal Canadiens took on their arch rivals, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and legendary goalie Johnny Bower.
Bower's artistry baffles Montreal. Rarely does a man over 40 possess reflexes like Bower, a man Imlach calls the most remarkable athlete in the world.
The goalie who gave me the most problem would be Johnny Bower. Bower was not the type to go on the face. He would stand up, he would wave.
That's a wonderful compliment, and I thank him a lot for that. But I don't know. I kept him in the league. He scored quite a few goals against me, Gene did. When I saw Gene bearing down on me, I was nervous. There's no doubt about that. Every time he got the puck, I was nervous.
Beliveau also made the Leafs coach nervous. George Punch Imlach knew Belivau's strengths better than most. He'd helped develop those skills as coach of the Quebec Aces.
George thought him to be the greatest center that ever lived. And whenever we go to the Montreal Forum to play, Mr. Imlach would say, "There's only one Johnny. Call him Johnny." He said, "See that guy Perreault? He's great, but he's not Johnny."
He had one bad play. He loved, as he got to the blue line, he would always make that second deke and put you offside sometimes. So instead of putting the puck over the line, you would pull it back sometimes, so therefore it caused an offside. I never told him that, but now I'm telling him.
By the early 60s, the Canadiens' unbroken winning streak had come to an end. The fall from grace was sudden and dramatic. Jean Beliveau was feeling the pressure.
I remember coming out of the farm after scoring 2 goals, and you could hear some people, well, you could have scored 3. And on some night I scored 3, you could have scored 4. So you have the feeling that whatever you do, it's not enough. It's hard.
Harder still were the injuries. A cracked ankle, a shoulder separation, a severe concussion. And then on December 17th, 1966, the worst injury of all. It happened during a game against the Chicago Blackhawks. Stan Mikita was using a curved stick called a banana blade.
At the end of the stick, when riding my eye. Your eyes has a protection against a straight blade, but a curved stick, it goes right in your eye.
Beliveau writhed in agony on the forum ice and was rushed to hospital. It would be 3 days before doctors knew if his eye could be saved. 5 weeks before he could play again. After this scare, Elise Beliveau rarely attended her husband's games, and the banana blade was outlawed. The gentle giant had become the wounded giant. He suffered from bouts of fatigue, chest pains, dizzy spells, and nausea. A worried Beliveau consulted doctors who discovered his heart was too small for his body. They were amazed he could function as a professional athlete. One physician described him as having an Austin motor in a Cadillac body, a phrase bandied about by a hostile press. He couldn't be helped by treatment or medication. It was a problem he had to live with. Later in life, Beliveau would wear a pacemaker. Health problems and injuries were compounded by the occasional scoring slump.
Working in is Beliveau, going in a goal!
And the mood of the fans turned ugly. The press skewered him.
He's not playing the hockey he's capable of.
He doesn't hustle.
He never had the drive of the Rocket.
Beliveau is hitting the post.
He's brittle and accident-prone.
He's suffering from a serious illness.
He's been eclipsed by Hull and Geoffrion.
He's become a completely different man.
It's time for Jean Beliveau to retire from the game.
Jean's very sensitive to people's responses. He took it with great pain. And I think, if memory serves, the French presses were far more vindictive, I wouldn't say vitriolic, vindictive, and aggressive about their attacks. And you're only as good as your last period, let alone your last game in Montreal.
But Jean Beliveau was good. Good enough to be named Most Valuable Player and win the first Conn Smythe Trophy. Good enough to lead his team to 4 Stanley Cup victories in 5 years.
The game is over and the Canadiens win the Stanley Cup for the 13th time.
Jean Beliveau accepted the Stanley Cup from Clarence Campbell, president of the National Hockey League.
Jubilant fans showered their heroes with love. But Jean Beliveau knew better than most how quickly the mood of the crowd could darken. By 1970, the constant travel, relentless pressure, and grueling play were taking their toll. Beliveau was approaching 40 and thinking about retirement. But the Canadiens asked their captain to stay on for 1 more year to help the younger players mature. That last season would be among his finest. On February 11, 1971, he joined a select club, becoming one of only 4 players in NHL history to score 500 goals. Once again, the captain led his team to victory.
Victory for the Canadiens was particularly sweet for team captain Jean Beliveau, who was getting ready for retirement.
Once again, Jean Beliveau hoisted the Stanley Cup. for the last time.
To Captain Jean Beliveau, his 10th Stanley Cup, a record he shares with Richard.
He would now pass the torch to a new generation of superstars.
These arms of mine.
These Arms of Mine returns with all new episodes Friday at 9 on CBC.
Introducing Magic Bag, the one and only all-natural thermotherapeutic pad, the effective solution to relieve pain and everyday stress. Available in 2 sizes and made from 100% natural elements, Magic Bag embraces marvelously every part of your body. So easy to use, it can be chilled in the freezer or heated in the microwave. It's applied directly onto skin and is neither too hot nor too cold. Magic Bag, an indispensable product for heat or cold therapy that relieves pain effectively and brings a calming relaxation. Magic Bag maintains its therapeutic temperature for approximately 30 minutes. Here is your chance to get the Magic Bag Duo, including both sizes in their individual packages valued at $39.98 for only $29.95. To order now, call 1-866-719-9990, and in no time at all, you will experience Magic Bag's thermotherapeutic power.
Overwhelming requests for CBC News coverage of funeral services for Pierre Elliott Trudeau have prompted a limited edition release in video format.
With every card, every rose, every tear, every wave, and every pirouette, you returned his love.
To place an order, call 1-888-326-2313.
I've been president of Jameson Laboratories for over 8 years. The vitamin business is fun. Shouldn't say this, but when I was a kid, I didn't take vitamins. Walmart and Jameson have the same commitment to quality. They want the best quality that the Canadian marketplace has to offer. Every product you see here is subjected to 211 quality control tests, and it's for that reason I'm able to sleep at night. Some of our more popular vitamins: vitamin C, echinacea, vitamin E, multivitamins, B-complex.
Thanks a lot. It's not about you, Phil. It's about me. I understand. You need a little more freedom. Yeah. Are you okay with that? Oh, of course I'm okay with that. Sam, I mean, if you respect someone, you gotta set them free. A guy like me needs to be free. Yeah. Here, take a look at this. 'Cause I think we can do this together. Together, Phil? Hot peppers? Yeah.
Guaranteed low price is definitely part of our service. It's like Home Depot 101. Our low price guarantee simply is we'll match and beat anybody by 10%. We price shop all of our competitors. Go ahead, shop around for lower prices, but you won't find them. You'll definitely save a lot of money. With the money you save, you'll figure out something new to spend it on. Did you get a new truck?
Yeah.
Great. Saving money is hard to do. That's one of the reasons you keep coming back.
Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
Nobody can turn you into a professional model.
The lure of the fashion industry.
They could see me going a long way.
And the modeling school that exploits the dream.
They take you no matter what. They just want your money.
False hope for profit.
She's like, we would love to have your butt. You need less.
Then
he could be a prime minister of this country.
Is this the man to unite the right? A profile of Peter MacKay. The Fifth Estate. Wednesday night at 8 on CBC Television.
Worried about the economy and what it may mean for your life? We'll have the latest on what Ottawa thinks is going to happen tonight on The National.
The Montreal Canadiens have a long and glorious tradition. It is inscribed on the dressing room wall. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. Haunting lines from the poem In Flanders Fields. In an emotional ceremony marking the closing of the Montreal Forum, the Canadiens brought those lines to life. One generation passed the torch on to the next. From Rocket Richard to Jean Beliveau, And from Jean Beliveau to Guy Lafleur.
For me, my idol was Jean Beliveau because I was wearing number 4. I always wear number 4 when I was a kid, and I always thought I was Jean Beliveau on the ice because of his style, and was very graceful on the ice. Great skater, so I was trying to be him all the time.
Like his idol, Guy Lafleur was a small-town boy who went from backyard rink to hockey glory in Quebec City, filling the Coliseum built so many years before for Jean Beliveau. The Flower, too, was hailed as hockey's greatest player when he joined the Montreal Canadiens in 1971. Just a week before, Jean Beliveau announced he'd played his final game.
So everybody was expecting me to replace Jean Beliveau. At the beginning, I didn't really think about it, but as soon as we started playing some games, I realized what it really meant to the public.
Scored by number 10, Guy Lafleur.
So it was a lot of pressure. It was very tough.
Guy Lafleur nearly buckled under the pressure, but Jean Beliveau calmed his nerves and kept him focused.
I know Jean spoke with him on numerous occasions, worked with him, worked on his game, and certainly worked with him interpersonally and tried to shape Guy's perspective about the team. But I know, again, there's a great reverence between the two.
Belivau's protege would go on to become the highest point scorer in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. A generation after Guy Lafleur, Jean Beliveau would also be a role model for the great one himself.
Many a time, you know, my dad would say, well, you would never hear Jean Beliveau say that, or Jean Beliveau would never do that. So my dad was very aware of him, and my dad was a huge influence on everything I did, so obviously that was a big part of my life. He was the first guy that was able to play the game elegantly without having to be rough, without having to fight. And the other guys like Bobby Hull and Gordie Howe and even Bobby Orr periodically would drop their gloves and get physical. And Jean Beliveau really never seemed to come to that. In a lot of ways, my play was more like his than anyone.
From the beginning, Gentleman Jean straddled the line between hockey star and business executive. Every day after hockey practice, he'd don his corporate uniform and head to the office of Molson's Brewery to work at his second job in public relations. In later years, he was as much a star for the Montreal Canadiens in their front office as he had been on the Forum ice. Here was a goodwill ambassador who charmed the ladies, enthralled the kids, and didn't even complain about the paperwork.
Victoria, BC.
He answers every piece of mail that he receives personally. Do you have any idea what that means? I'm talking about thousands and thousands of letters. He responds to every telephone call he gets, personally. So whenever I say, Jean, what's new? Oh, I have the mail, you know, and it's a standard fare. Go home to his lovely office in the basement, do the mail. His credo, and he has one, business credo and people credo, is always give people a little more than they expected.
And I had this one made for you.
If you wanted to know what Jean thinks about how to live one's life, give them a little more than they expected, underwhelm and overperform, and you'll always be on top of your game.
That credo, learned from his father years before, helped him rise through the ranks at Molson's, from loading beer cases all the way to the executive suite. He also sat on the board of 8 corporations. Jean Beliveau accomplished all this with a grade 10 education.
Jean educated himself. I can recall him on the trains, reading his books. We were out fooling around, he was reading his books.
Monsieur Beliveau.
Jean as a person, as a leader, he has all the qualities. He has the charisma. He carries himself so well.
We were at a resort, my family and I, and he happened to be there with his wife. And I remember saying to my wife, you know, that's the first time I've ever seen Jean Beliveau not in a tie.
But there was always substance to the style. Jean Beliveau set up a charitable foundation which raised some $1.5 million for needy children. But he wasn't above a little self-promotion either. There were lucrative product endorsements, even TV ads.
I'm no Bobby answer, but I enjoy that ride. It's all car.
Javelin. It's all car.
One Friday morning in October 1989, Jean Belivau's comfortable world was torn apart. Daughter Hélène's husband, Serge, a police constable, committed suicide at Station 25, just blocks from Belivau's office at the Forum. It fell to Beliveau to inform his daughter Hélène and her two children, Mylène and Magali, then just 5 and 3 years old. After the tragedy, Jean Beliveau vowed to be a father to his granddaughters. It was a promise that would test his resolve. Two federal governments wooed Beliveau with offers of political appointments, trying to lure him to Parliament Hill, anxious to get the handsome, stately hockey hero on their team. He was the ideal prospect. Quebecers loved him, and so did the rest of Canada. Brian Mulrooney proffered a Senate seat twice. Both times, Beliveau turned him down. Then, in 1994, he was offered one of the most prestigious positions in the nation. Jean Chrétien asked him to be Governor General. Still, Beliveau said no. He wouldn't leave his granddaughters.
The way I feel, if Elise and I, we had left for Ottawa for 5 years, I had the feeling that I was letting them down, that I was abandoning them.
It was one of the hardest decisions of his life. But Jean Beliveau would soon face a much tougher challenge.
Of your dreams.
Facts of Life by Lysol. Fact, cats don't come with brakes. Fact, no other wipe kills germs faster than new Lysol disinfecting wipes. They kill 99.9% of germs in 30 seconds. Life demands Lysol. That's a fact. Facts of Life by Lysol. Fact, a child who shares nothing else will share the cold bug. Fact, Lysol spray kills 99.9% of the cold virus in only 30 seconds. No spray is better at killing viruses. Life demands Lysol. That's a fact.
This is Mike Gucher's dairy farm at Mildmay. And this one belongs to the Dixon family of Cheltenham. Across Ontario, there are hundreds of dairy farmers like Mike and the Dixons. They're all members of Gay Leaf Foods Cooperative. So they're not only milk producers, it's their company too. The one that brings you delicious Gay Leaf butter, velvety smooth sour cream, and delectable real whipped cream topping. Yes, Gay Leaf.
Heartburn caused by acid reflux. You don't need the scorching pain in your chest and throat. So before you see a doctor, get Gaviscon. Gaviscon tablets feel different. They become smooth and creamy on the way down. Then Gaviscon forms a soothing, protective barrier that helps keep acid down. Nobody needs the pain. Get Gaviscon, non-prescription relief from acid reflux.
Yes, that's so true, Mr. Chandler. However, your portfolio seems to be doing very well. Let's look at your foreign content. Right, these markets were down earlier this year, but our fund managers think now's a good time to buy funds targeting this region. Absolutely, and this fund does cover the entire region. Great, I've rebalanced your portfolio. Thanks for calling.
I think it's time to leave.
Altamira, focused on making you money. Maybe a little too focused.
So, what kind of shape's your portfolio in?
Dummies test the safety of every new model, saving countless lives. Animated versions promote safety belts. The Secret Life of the Crash Test Dummy on The Nature of Things, Wednesday at 9 on CBC. Exploding tires.
It was a nightmare.
I'd like to say they're driving on dynamite.
The story you haven't heard.
If you know you've got a problem, you eliminate it.
Marketplace uncovers a simple solution that could have prevented these accidents. Tonight at 8 on CBC.
Hi, I'm Ian Hannah-Mansing in Vancouver. Tomorrow on Canada Now, where do old mobsters go when they die? You might be surprised.
In the spring of 2000, a nation said goodbye to Jean Belivau's idol, Maurice Richard. As the hearse traveled down Montreal's St. Catherine Street, scene of so many of the Rockets' victory parades, the crowds paid tribute to a hockey player who had become a national hero. Among the pallbearers were the Rockets' former teammates, Henri Richard, Dickie Moore, and Jean Beliveau. For Beliveau, the loss was a double blow. The death of his idol had come on the heels of his own health crisis.
The 68-year-old hockey star has been diagnosed with a malignant tumor in his neck and will now undergo treatment to cure it.
Beliveau would tell friends it was the worst period of his life. He endured 2 months of radiation, treatments that sapped his strength, left him unable to talk, and barely able to eat. He lost over 30 pounds.
Now the voice is back pretty much. There's still some salivary issues. He can't eat pasta well, and he can't eat potatoes well because the starches don't digest as easily. That's coming. The rest is fine, but attitudinally, you know, through the piece, tremendous. Every day, another day, and my challenge, and I'll deal with it, you know. Complemented by an amazing wife. She is brilliant. She's a wonderful human being. There isn't a bride on this planet who could have been more dedicated if she tried.
In the fall of 2000, Jean Beliveau appeared in public once more, taking his regular seat at the Molson Centre with Elise and granddaughter Magali to cheer on the Montreal Canadiens. But these are not the Canadiens of old. The once proud team has fallen from grace. Humiliated by one defeat after another. In Montreal today, there are no shining heroes. No Jean Beliveau to restore the luster of the red, white, and blue. The sellout crowds have vanished. But high overhead in the rafters of the Molson Centre are reminders of the team's glorious past and of the captain who was their inspiration.
In many cases, the great superstars, they're hockey players. And they're also good men, but they don't have anywhere near the profile that Jean's built for himself. He's so much more than a hockey player. That's the key. He's so much more the man than he is a hockey player.
You know, we all came from nothing. He came from a little town, Victoriaville. A youngster. I don't think he went that far in school like I did. And it's wonderful to have a friend that you say, hey, I knew that guy. When? And now look. And that's the nice part about Jean Beliveau. He's never changed as an individual, from the bottom to the top. And this, I say, I'm lucky to say I know him.
What I miss the most is this great family atmosphere that we had in the room. What I miss the most is a group of persons working so hard together towards a common goal. I think it's one of the trademark on a Canadian that we help each other, that the success of the team is first, your personal record is second. I've always thought the game of hockey is the greatest game to play and the greatest game to watch. And to these days, every night when I go to bed at night, I thank God to have given me the talent to have a life in professional sport, to have a life with Canadian.
Up they come, Beliveau at center ice. He gets it over in the clear, going right in and goal, shoots and scores! And Montreal takes the lead, 2-1, and a beautiful effort by Jean Beliveau.
This week, Jean Beliveau gets his own stamp. It's part of a series featuring 6 All-Star legends issued by Canada Post to commemorate the 2001 All-Star Game. That's our show for tonight. Here's a preview of the next Life and Times. Todd McFarlane, comic book genius, frustrated jock.
Yeah, I'm an athlete first, and then I do comic books as a living.
You will never escape me.
The Life and Times of Todd McFarlane, Tuesday night at 7.
I checked him over. He was dead when we got here.
Take a look. This is your jockey right here.
Was this a normal thing with him? We didn't come home at night?
His kidneys were in bad shape. His liver was shot.
Did you ever hear him talk about taking his own life?
Oh, he said he would ride again or die trying.
Was he taking anything for the pain?
But it wouldn't surprise me. He was having a rough run. Sammy never tested positive in all the time that he was racing, not once.
We found a bottle of barbiturates in his locker. Can you tell me anything about that?
The best drama on Canadian television, Da Vinci's Inquest, tonight at 9 on CBC.